Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to PCM23 Lions. This is episode number 70. We're in the final two stages of Paris-Nice. It's a big one, though. It's the biggest one. Right now, I have 4 riders in the top 15 overall, but my 2 climbers, as we hit this big mountain stage, first real big mountain stage of the year, my 2 best climbers are at the back end of that top 15. My weaker guys are at the front end, and they are certainly going to drop away on a day such as this. Also, very noteworthy of what we are facing both today and tomorrow, these last 2 stages, is that the length of the stages is significantly shorter. Now, this one's not terribly short. It's 157k or about 158k, whatever it was. So it's it's just shy of 160k. It's not too bad, but Mutoni was expected to have a +3 today. He's got a 0. That's not good because I was thinking about making him our leader. He's our second best climber, but he's the best placed of the 2 climbers. Benuna is 3rd overall. We'll try to hang on to his position as best we can, but he ultimately will have to sacrifice his podium position. There's no way with a 75 mountain that he's going to hang on to that position in the grand scheme of things as he finally gets forward enough. Benny Messias, though, he's 13th. That's that 4th rider in that top 15. Also, just a 72 base, 75 for him today. Mullabron is definitely going to be doing work. Let's go ahead and protect Tony. Mahira is definitely going to be doing work, so we can have him protect Samuels. And Samuels, let's go ahead and set up +5 draw for him. So the best guy got the best draw. That's good news for us, other than the fact that, well, he was 15th overall and not 10th. And so I might still go with the strategy of use the team to protect both of our 2 key guys, but when the time comes, not to sit on, but to attack with Samuels, potentially. Worked out for a stage win here on the last stage. He gained back a little bit of time. He moved way up the order. He was down on time because of an individual time trial and having a negative race day condition and a 63-62 time trial base. That today, anyway, would have made a mediocre time. But with a negative race day condition on the individual time trial day, it made a really poor time, and it put him way down the standings. But with that attack on that last stage, a little bit of time gain after holding off the field, holding off the chase, and getting the time bonus for the stage victory, it definitely brought him back into the mix. And there was a pretty big field spread. So he's 15th, but he's 211 down. Mutoni is our key guy today, or was supposed to be our key guy today until, there was a +5 differential in their race day condition, plus that base 1 mountain point, plus that base stamina deficit that Mutoni is carrying. But now with a -3 draw, I don't see how we can hope for him to hang on, though we'll do our best to get him a good result. But he's a minute 29 down on the overall. Sitting in 13th at a minute 56, Benny Messias could still have a decent finish overall, but we will absolutely use him when the time comes. Same with Benuna. Benuna being a bit higher placed and just 26 seconds down overall in 3rd place with a 75 mountain and a 79 stamina. Absolutely is going to be protected as long as we can, but again, no problem sacrificing him when the time comes, because we could and should be looking at much larger than 2-minute deficits at the finish line. Samuels could and should move well up the order on a day such as this, especially with that +5 and some race support. First climb of the day comes to an end. That was the big one before the finishing one, but we have almost the same climb we just had with a little respite in the middle of it, combining for 2 Cat 2s coming up at the mid stage. We have formed a break. It's 8 riders. They have a 3.5-minute advantage. And contained within that group, Neutz, Van Gils, Mertz, Jungels, Velens, Cavagna, Tarling, and Askey, which means there's some definite quality up there. Let's take a look at their timings. 22, Mertz, 24, 18, 23, 11 down for Neutz, 842 for ASCII. That's the big one to watch out for. No, Tarling is the highest placed, but not a strong mountain climber. So he's a strong time trialist. That's what's put him in the position he is in thus far. So no threats there for the GC. So we can really kind of count on what we have and our four guys. And like I said, Samuels could be an attack and go for victory kind of situation while we ultimately ride for him up to the point of attack, and Mutoni in the meantime. Only one negative race day condition draw. The weird thing about this is the entire team is expected to have +3s, except Mullebron. Mullebron, coming back from an injury, is not on a fitness peak. He was an expected 0, but also at 75-80% fitness level. That is seeing him a little weakened, and yet Mullebron has somehow drawn a +2 today. Benio Messias is right at his +3. Moher is at his +3. Benoon is at his +3. Samuels has at least a +2 on top of his +3. Mutoni has a -3, and Janssen has a -5 draw. That definitely adds up to a negative. That's a -8 negative compared to the expected, because we have a +2 on Samuels and we have a +2 on Mullebron, but then we have a -5 and a -3. So -4 net. The Samuels one, it could have been bigger than a +3 draw, so it's entirely possible that there was more to it and it wasn't quite as far negative on the draw as that. But yeah, Janssen really got the short end of the stick today, getting literally the worst draw possible. But beyond him, and it's very unfortunate on the Mutoni part, right? Because I was hopeful for both of those guys today, but we'll be okay. We will be okay. The Mutoni part hurts a little. The Janssen part hurts a little, but everybody else is in pretty good shape, and I'm pretty happy with that +5 for Samuels. All in all, not too worried about that. Now, recovery through that descent, through this gradual, slightly negative ride that we're on right now. Good period of recovery, but things are going to intensify, and I have a feeling that this undulation that we're going through right here looks like it's going to do some damage to the team. I do not want to up the effort, but I do need to slow this down here for a moment and make sure that we are not seeing a split in the field and getting caught behind anything. The point here is to conserve the energy. We have that little descent, we have that false flat area where we can really recover the position, but we do not want to exhaust our riders right now before the climb. It's a big climb. That energy really matters. So I'm taking a really big risk at the moment by not increasing our effort right now. We're clearly drifting. I mean, we are absolutely going backwards, and the peloton has already shrunk. It's down to 86 now, 89 riders. It is yo-yoing a little bit. That's the concern, right? If we are on the wrong side of this yo-yo, it could cost us a race. So taking a very, very big risk here. But you can see that even with easing off and not putting in as much effort as the other teams right now, as the other riders right now, we're still feeling it. Even the protected guys, Benuna, Mutoni, Samuels, not at 100% right now. They will be able to recover position on the descent if we don't get dropped, if we don't yo-yo the wrong way here. They will be able to both recover their position and that little bit of fatigue. But the more tired guys, and like Mutoni right now, this looks like the tail. It is. Okay, I'm glad I caught this. We're cresting here in just a moment, but that's a danger area. We are about to, you know what, let's just take everyone now, as we are at the top anyway. Go ahead and up the effort so that they can A, recover position a little bit faster, and B, definitely not face the risks. Tony, 85 and he's still struggling? Come on, man. Come on. Don't you get dropped. No! Mullebron and... okay. And I was careful to try to avoid that. I told you we were going to take this risk. It's going to waste energy, and that time and position is definitely not where it should be in Mullabron. Come on, man. Further... 99 effort further away. He's a 67 downhill. Okay, we got guys going to get water. Water is no longer a problem, but 10 riders just dropped off like it's nothing. There's Magnus Sheffield in the U.S. National Champion jersey. This is hurting both of these guys significantly. Red bar's gone. Matoni's only on a 0 today, so I'm really not going to overcommit to this. It is what it is. Samuels has already kind of put himself into the leader's position. Jansen, Gel. This is what I'm talking about, though. This is why we needed to take that risk. And we were fine. It's Mullabron who lost the contact because he's trying to protect Matoni. Matoni is riding the 99, but Mullabron is like trying to stay on Matoni's wheel, and all of a sudden a quarter wheel meant separation. We're going to be climbing proper here soon. Let's follow or just hold wheel on these guys. Jay Vine, Magnus Sheffield, they're going to try to get back up there as well, and that's it. Mullabron's gone. I'm going to try to get Matoni back in there. Jansen's already done. Let's go and wait for this rider. Use his last little bit of energy to... $85. Just climb your pace. This group is blowing up real fast. 38 riders. We've just barely started the climb. The climb, 16.7 kilometers, 1,500 meters, 6% average gradient. It's far from the worst you see in the season, but it's definitely the worst at this stage of the season. Mohira is toast. He's going to start dropping here in just a second, so that's going to now leave us with Benia Messias to protect. Go ahead and try to protect. And then we'll send him back to do the same thing with Matoni that we just did. We'll tell him to drop back. Matoni making good, rapid progress, but he is so far behind now. And climbing 85 mountains is going to get him nowhere near where he needs to be, but... Okay, so Mohira. Drop, wait for the rider, and climb at a pace that's going to be more sustainable for a while, please. Mohira is in contact. There you go. Tony, follow him for a minute. Don't want to get too focused on this. Watching my guys. Benia Messias, Gel. Wow, this is happening fast. Oh, really? Now there's an attack? You don't say anything? You should have said something all along. Martina, okay, he's just now trying to attack. Cavagna was in the break. This is what's left of the break. That's it. Noit's on top. Strong climber, but he's 11:48 down. So Martinez is 7th overall, minute 6 down, 83 mountain. He is trying to attack. We are now in a situation where we're already down to just our guy, right? Motoni's not even here. Clap is... Are they all just going to literally attack? Vanderpool's not chasing. He's not going anywhere in the stand. I think we need to... 10K, though. 10K, that's just... No. No, Lek Nassoon is also trying to attack, which is just going to leave this group totally... Just follow Lek Nassoon. Okay, Mohira's done. Matoni, I'm not going to bother with you anymore. And we do have this group off the front. Looks like, was it 3 guys? That's break. Okay, so Lawrence is already fading. He's now hanging on to this chase group. But it's Petrovic, Martinez, Roland. But there is an organized chase. And there is clear and obvious large amounts of fatigue. We're already down to a peloton of just 11, plus those few guys off the front. That's it. We've got 1 rider riding protection. It's now down to 10. Panuna's not going to last much longer. Let's go ahead and gel now. We got a ways to go yet, but get the benefits of it. Lawrence has been caught, and that's the thing, is these guys went a bit too hard too early, and I knew it would have been too hard too early for Samuels here to go at that point. We do not have endless amounts of energy. Front group's disintegrating, so those guys are going to get reeled back in one by one, but Nuna's been dropped. Tony, meanwhile, is this far back with Bardet, who's got a 79 mountain. He's surrounded by guys that are very good, and then there's some weaker guys who are on, like big race day condition situations. There's Moss, Vanderpool's dropped, Mataway, there's Benuna, Velens, Ayuso. Wow, surprised to see him back here. There's Plapp, 4th place, getting dropped. There's Lawrence going backwards. Miklich now. We have Arts, 81 mountain. Leknesund, the overall leader. Fournier, 76 mountain, 80 medium mountain. He's hanging on, but he doesn't have much left. Palace, who is 2nd overall, and a 79 mountain, 83 medium mountain. Petrovic is right there. We've caught Petrovic. So he's gone backwards. So we're down to Martinez, Neutz, who's not a factor. So there's 2 contenders left being chased, and there's 6 guys left chasing. That's a top 10. Samuels is very much moving towards a top 10 position right now. We've already used the gel. He's got a little bit to finish off. He's got a little bit to finish strong, but he's definitely not got enough to attack. It's going to have to be in the final meters that he makes a move to go forward. Looking at the front 3, at least 2 of them are bobbing really bad. And then, how is Neutz the one that's still hanging in there? If I could attack, I would. It's 1K. It's 1K. Okay, ready, set, attack. Okay, we're clear. And then ease off because we still had to finish. Neutz takes the win ahead of Martinez and Roland. We're going to get 4th place. We're 30 seconds clear of the chasing pack. We've been able to leave them behind. But we left nothing on the table. That was all that we were going to get. But we're talking about very big gaps already. We're at minute 50. We were 30 down. So we've already gained a minute and a half on these guys. And we're now talking about 2+ minutes, which is all we had deficit-wise. So we're moving up the order. We're absolutely moving into the top 10. I'm not sure that's going to be enough to get into the top 5 necessarily, though. Maybe. Depends on where those gaps are. But Nuna got 15th. So the guy who was 3rd overall got 15th on the stage. He didn't lose crazy amounts of time. But we're talking 6 minutes already, and Motoni hasn't even finished. Now, Motoni finally finishes 28th on the stage, nearly 7 minutes down. So big gaps. Big changes coming to the standings. Still have one more stage to go. Clearly, Samuels has moved himself into a very solid position. I'm glad I didn't try to attack and go with those guys. It would have made us one of the 4 or 5 that were dropped by that. There was, 7 guys that attacked, 2 of them hung on. 5 of them got dropped. We would have been in that 5. And only one of those 5 that dropped was then able to hang with my group. And I was able to just, right there at the end, in that final kilometer, attack and leave my group behind and come in just behind that front group. We weren't winning that one today, especially with the risk, reward, and failure on the Motoni part. Him not being there, him and Mollebron not being there to help the team, definitely hurt. Motoni should have finished way higher than he did today. But again, low stamina, 0 race day condition. It was always going to be difficult for him. I think he would have been behind Benuna regardless, but he probably would have been 3 or 4 minutes further up the road, and it would have been a bit more help to Samuels. But that risk-reward section before that final climb, that energy we saved through there was immense. It almost worked out just right. I caught it, but we ended up getting broke off anyway. But only 2 riders. So following that stage, the new rankings puts Lenny Martinez into the race lead ahead of Leknesund just by 5 seconds. Paulus at 9 down, and then Roland at 48. Big gap to us. I mean, we're over a minute behind the next rider, but we are all the way up to 5th place. That's good. That is good. And we still have a hefty stage 8 coming, but Samuels has come from a long ways down to move into that position. Not having that time trial and having a bad day on that time trial and losing over 2 minutes on that time trial to now be just a minute 45 down on the race lead. That's a pretty dang good recovery from where he started this race. Petrovic, Lawrence, Plapp, Arts. But Nuna hangs on to 10th place. That's surprising for a non-climber. Can we also help him hang on? He's only 2 seconds out of 9th, but that seems to be about it positionally, unless, you get dropped and lose substantial time. There doesn't seem to be potential gains out there in too many places, but maybe a little Benuna move could pick up 3 seconds on that final stage. Matoni falls to 19th. That was the only disappointing part. Like I said, that really came down to a big risk to save a lot of energy in between those couple sprint points, and it almost worked out right, but yeah, there was just a fraction too much energy saving, and the guy who didn't have any bonuses for the day struggled to keep pace. Meanwhile, over at Adriatico, there was one stage left. It was just a sprint stage, and somehow Fortunato lost time on the day, and that bumps Johannes Dalek up one more spot to P11. De Villiers was 17th, and Ashimwe 7th. That's a decent amount of points for our B team over at the Torino Adriatico race for a World Tour A level race. That's a lot of points out there. And look at the depth of the field with Bagacher and Haragave and Almeida, Gaudu, Gregoire, Rodriguez. I mean, that is a very, very deep field. Danny Martinez was only 12th. Ben O'Connor was 14th. I mean, we're talking about guys that have been on or very near podiums at Grand Tours. Vingegaard was 15th. Hindley was 18th. Should I keep going, right? I mean, Taberry, Foss, Globe, Wout van Aert. Just insane depth. Felix Gall. It's just, the further you look down, the more strong riders you're seeing. That was a great race. And I think 7th is a fantastic result. I think a 5th place is a fantastic recovery for Mason Samuels from where he started the race. We'll see if we can finish it off with Paris-Nice. Final stage shouldn't be as exciting as the last one, but it's very short. Already just 110 kilometers left to go on the stage, which means we're looking at a pretty hefty situation of high tempo throughout this medium mountain stage. Trying to pick which guys. Well, Tony is still 19th, so we'll go ahead and protect him as well. Janssen today, no problem. He's got a +5. Benita Messias +3. Mohira +5. Mola Brown's +2, and again, he's the one who's expected. So overall, we have a pretty good draw. But what happens? No, it's the top guy last time. Now it's the top 2 guys this time with negative draws, -2s for Samuels and Benuna. Overall, it's offset. I mean, we have a positive race day condition. Positive net. It's just the 2 key guys are the negatives, which is the same thing that happened on the time trial stage, where Samuels, the key guy, had the negative. Over at the other race, Roteazir, the key guy, had the negative on the time trial. We've had some bad luck with the draws, but overall, the draws haven't been that bad. I mean, we've got a slight negative balance over these 2 races, and this is now the final stage of the 2 races, so over, 15 stages? This one's 8? Yeah, 8 and 7. So over 15 stages, I think I had a negative draw 3 times. Positive draw twice. Overall, on balance, we're probably a -10 total. It's not that bad. It's fairly neutral. It is fairly neutral. But it's been who's carrying the negatives. Like, the weakest domestiques have had the best race day conditions. Not a big deal. Just a little bit of a challenge. 15 riders in the break, already splitting off a little bit. Why? Look at our energy. The chase has been on. Now, right now, the 78 is struggling to hold. I will have to commit more than this on this upcoming climb. It's the big decisive moment. It's down to 12 riders at the front, and it's only a minute 45. All of this is happening because of the short length of the stage. But we have to be super careful on how we manage this one, because the drift is not something we can handle much of. But the more we can limit positional losses and conserve that energy a little bit, is the more we can set ourselves up to not face the prospect of getting dropped with our key guys. This could be a blown up peloton sooner rather than later, as we are officially now on the first climb of the day of 4, and yet the damage has already been done for the most part. During the upcoming descent, we'll need to get water for the one and only time today, and we're starting to get guys in bad shape, but no one is drifting too far. The 78 is just about holding us up. The tempo's not that bad right now. We're going to get a lot of recovery on this upcoming descent. We're 1K from the top, and the first guys are just starting to begin a nasty pattern of fade, but that's not bad positionally. Mollebron's right there. He does not have the energy though, so let's get someone like Jansen to go get the water. That breakaway had much too far distance-wise over the peloton to try to go gain a few seconds for Matoni or Benuda, right? It's Benuda who's 2 seconds down on gaining a position in the overall. Mollebron has recovered a lot. Jansen, a bit less so. Water task still not 100% done as we begin the next climb. There we go. Now he is done, and now we need to up the effort. You can see the fade is happening a lot faster at this point. Pace is a lot higher. Let's try 83 this time. There's been a good amount of recovery. Keep an eye on the back end of the field. This one has a shorter, steeper descent, which is going to allow for a good amount of recovery, but not for a lengthy period of time. But the more we can set ourselves up to be strong heading into the last 2 climbs, I think the more riders will get to the end, and the better chance we'll have of even competing for a victory at the end of that one. But I do think that on the next climb is where we're going to see this peloton shrink down a fair bit. 123, 119 riders now. I think we're going to be well under 100 at the end of the next climb, but I think it's still going to be a sizable peloton. I would assume 60 to 70 or more. But you can see that recovery was fairly minimal. Mollebron, a bit tired. Jansen, a bit tired. Let's go ahead and gel now for those two. Let them hang on a bit longer. Gap's not too bad. Front 6, minute 50. And shrinking, minute 25. Are we seeing an attack here? Roland among the attackers. He sits 4th overall. We're behind him in the standing. Samuels is only on a +1 today. There we go. That's already negated. Maybe? Nope. Ooh, for a second we were split off. We are split off. We got 4 riders. Up the effort to hold. Let's see. I think we're clear now that this could be a something. Not 99 for the front rider, but let's see if we can do something. Benuna would be at risk if this doesn't come together, but we might as well. No, it's already back together. It's yo-yoing though. Let's try to get these 2 in line. Or those 3 in line, that is. Group down to 96. LeBron's done. On to Jansen. Now 75. Jansen just ran out of red bar, but he's got a little bit of yellow left. And he just ran out. And the other guys are not in position yet. We're cresting, so let's go ahead and leave Janssen to the descent and hope that the others can get in position. Mohira, Benia Messias, and Benuna has nearly closed down that ground. This descent is causing more riders to drop off now, 63. Only one more climb to navigate, and plenty of energy for everyone besides Janssen. I'd like to get Mohira to the front. And Mohira is nearly there. So Mohira, we're going to change your position now to second in line. Benia Messias, third in line. So that they could try to ride right past the other two. Front 4, down to 44 seconds. And we're at the base of the climb. Janssen, don't need you at a 99. You're not going to last more than a few seconds, but let's get you back on your 90. 74 medium mountain. That's not too bad. 77 mountain is definitely better, but that's the pace we need to set. It's only 3K. Down to 3 riders at the front. And it's definitely a shrinking peloton. Mohira setting a decent tempo here. Obviously not the fastest, but this is setting up his teammates to not get exhausted, not get dropped. And see, now they've given up the push. And now we're able to continue on with probably everyone in position. Yes, we are now in the position we want to be as Mohira runs out of energy. 300 meters from the top of the climb, so Benia Messias. Again, good mountain, but not great for the other ratings. Mohira, try to grab onto the back of this thing. You might still be useful for us. We haven't caught the front 3. 18K, it's a descent. With a shrunken group, will any of the leaders be missing from this? Probably not. Benia Messias, decent descender. Let's descend a little faster. Everyone behind him is doing just fine. Down to 21! Okay, now we want to push. Last little uphill. Sheffield, Guerrero, Schialmose. That's a good group. No wonder they stayed away so long. And we just split off another 19 riders. They regain contact again. A lot of yo-yo happening. Alright. 8K. Time to start thinking about these last 3 riders. And what or can we do? 62 sprint. 64 sprint. 64 sprint. .4 sprint. Gel for the last 2. It's a little late now. Matoni's gelled up, but others are trying to attack right now too. This will negate that. Oh, here it got a little bit clear. Matoni did not hold his wheel very well at all. No podium today. Vanderpool takes the win. Hedl, Lawrence, Zingle, Pidcock. No wonder. Those guys are fast. They are fast. Paduna gets 7th. Samuels gets 9th. Matoni 11th. The big players are here. Top guys. Some lost contact there at the back end of the group. We'll see if they lose time. Same time was given down to 49th, so just the time bonuses for the top 3, which means our guys all coming in on same time. No change. I mean, Samuel's 5th, Benuna 10th. Matoni moves up. That's the first one where you had a rider that got dropped. Was back there. So Matoni moves up 1 spot. That could be worth a couple points, I think. The edge of the limit. In fact, I'm curious to check on that because there's something I want to go over. Could it have been better? Yes, I think 2 things could have gone better for us. I think not losing Matoni on that previous stage not only helps his position, obviously, he could have been easily 2 minutes better off and in 16th, or 3 minutes better off and in 13th. So him not losing that ground, him still being able to contribute, could have made a difference for Benuna, could have made a difference for Samuels. Maybe Samuels was good enough to finish in the top 3 on that stage instead of 4th. We don't know for sure, but obviously if Matoni doesn't lose contact and he and LeBron are there, we're in a slightly better position as a team. Not by much, but definitely in a better position. Likewise, the second thing that I think could have gone better in this race was Samuel's race day condition on the time trial day. He loses less time, he has a better result. How much better? Probably about a minute. When he attacked and won on the stage where he broke away, the punchy stage where he broke away, well, if he's a minute better off, maybe they don't let him attack and go do that. Maybe they respond differently. Subtract a minute from him, it's 4th place. That's it. And maybe not even that. Maybe it was 50 seconds. So for Samuels, I don't think that changed much on the outcome, but maybe he had a +5 that day instead of a -1. And that could have been substantially different than the outcome that he had. Maybe it would have been more than a minute. If it was 2 minutes, it could have been him racing for the overall or for at least a podium spot. But with just 9 seconds separating those top 3 and us being nearly 2 minutes down, I'd venture to say that really I don't think that would have changed by much. So I think the race outcome is the right one. It's the correct one. Our race day condition really was not a key factor. The wrong guys had the -1s, the -2s, but not always. I think on balance, that race, we got what we deserved. Top 5, good job. Top 10 with the second rider, really good job. It's worth points. Speaking of, let's go see about those points. Next up on the calendar is Milano-Torino, 1 Pro. It's a race we ran last year. Brett and Coxide, 1 Pro. Both flat. Sprint is not our strong suit. We can get a top 10 in that kind of race. It's worth points. After that, San Remo. That's a major. I think we can get a similar kind of result here, though, because as much as it's flat, you got those 2 climbs right before the finish. And I have won this race in the past, but not here. This is going to be our first instance on it for this series. And I think more often than not, this is the kind of race where I squeeze out top 10s, top 5s. Because your Vanderpoels, your Van Aerts at the end will overcome. Your Pogacars will overcome. They're just too good. They're too strong of a sprint. Breaking off the field into a small group, getting 6 to 8 riders going for that finish, and then getting 5th or 6th. I can do that pretty often with this race. So I'm hopeful that we can have a top 5 maybe, or a top 10. So here's the trade-off. Here's what we're looking at last year versus this year. Last year I ran all of the 1 Pro, 2 Pro races, and it got us the points. It got us second in Continental Pro. The 1 Pro race is worth 200 points for a win, 100 points for 4th, 50 by the time you get down to 8th, and barely anything way down the field to 40th even. Now I tend to get a lot of those scrappy late points because I'll get a group overall finish. I'll use the whole team. Yes, a couple guys will get exhausted and get dropped, but I'll get a net team result pretty high up the order and then get multiple guys into the top 10 on a fairly regular basis. Not getting a ton of wins, but getting a ton of cumulative points. 2 Pro, breakdown's the same. What's different is you have provisional, worth 5 points, and a stage, top 5, get additional points. But that final, that overall, it's worth the same thing. So doing all those 2 Pro and 1 Pro races, there was accumulation of points that added up, and that's what got us so high up in the Continental Pro rankings. But now we're into the World Tour. I'm not doing those 1 Pro and 2 Pro races, so those results are falling away. But I'm doing the World Tour races. Probably in the end going to be an equivalent or even greater number of races that we run this season. Here's the difference. I might finish a little lower than I did last year, but I'm still getting that cumulative. I'm still getting that group effect. World Tour Class C, that Great Ocean Road race, that Omloop Het Nieuwsblad race at the start of the season. Lowest level. There's only 5 of them, but we're already talking a bump. 200 points now, 300 points at the top. Yes, it drops off fast, but 50 is at 10th, where it was at 8th before. It's 20 for these lower positions. It goes way down to 60th to get any points at all. The trickle down is much further, much deeper, much higher than what you have there. So that cumulative part, it adds up a lot more, even though we might be a few positions further down. A few positions further down get the same points, but then the deeper the run of the team effect, we end up scoring more points. That's the lowest level. Then there's Class B. Now we're starting at 400. We're talking about that 50 plus is about 12th. Now we're looking at 24 and 16 and 8 way down the order. The Class A, 500 points. The other races, you had to be 7th, 8th to get that kind of points. Here, you just got to be, top 25. And then, of course, we have our monuments. Massive points hauls. If we can get a 6th place there, we're getting more points than the win in those Continental Pro races would have earned. We can get the exact number of points just for finishing 8th. So we're doing a similar thing to what we did last year. We're not winning a ton of races, but we are cumulatively finishing high, and the points are adding up in a way that it didn't add up a year ago. Our 5th and 7th, we just picked up nearly 400 points for those two riders, but we added in a 10th. We added in an 18th. That's another 115 points. And we had other guys in the field that were placed. And that's one thing that other teams just don't necessarily do. They have a real drop-off in their domestiques. The Grand Tours, that's a whole nother ballgame, and we're going to be in a couple of them this year. And this is how it's paying off so far. We find ourselves 3rd in the rankings right now. Tudor, the next closest Continental Pro team, which of course, there's going to be that changeover at the end of the season. We're not going up to World Tour anytime soon. We're going to be a Continental Pro for a while. It's going to take riders on a whole nother level that we just don't have right now. We got Mason Samuels, right? We're closer to getting relegated than we are to getting promoted the way this system is set up. So all we can do in the meantime is continually crack that top 3. Hopefully just get first in Continental Pro, and then we can run a World Tour calendar as a Continental Pro team and maybe become the best, but especially build enough of a squad, have enough riders when we have enough money to do so. Right now we're not quite there yet. We need a handful more riders, quality riders. They can't just be fillers. And to build a larger squad and get closer to 30 riders to where we can handle the World Tours. Handling a World Tour schedule is going to put us in a position, compete at the top even though we're not necessarily at the top. And those wins are what's going to bring the popularity bonuses, the training bonuses, eventually. This has been a huge step, and you can see the results of how it's paying off with World Tour points versus Continental Pro points, because we're doing a very, very similar thing to what we did last year, but instead of being in the teens, somewhere around Arkea Samsic right now, or maybe competing with Tudor, we find ourselves just about 1,000 points ahead of them already, and all the way up in 3rd. Now, performance in the Grand Tours, right, it's not going to be tremendous. Okay, there's going to be some teams, World Tour teams anyway, that score way more points than what we're going to manage during that time. We're not going to keep a podium spot, but I do think we're going to comfortably hang on to a top 10 spot this season. And it looks like the only one who's going to put in maybe a challenge is Tudor, and that's going to put us on top of those Continental Pro standings. It's a great position to be in, really showing the progress we are making, but we've got a long ways to go yet. It's going to take those big wins. Now, we won a stage in that last race, but it was with a South African who already has that. It's going to take Tour de France or the Giro to get bonuses for that kind of nation, but we have other weaker nations, and we have those developing riders who we can get wins with at some point in a World Tour race, a more minor World Tour race, and see a benefit, see a bonus. So much tougher this year than last year. I feel in many ways I've done better than I did with the Dragon series a year ago, but the bonuses were more readily available. We won like what's it called, the Japan race at the end of the season, Japan Cup, something like that. We won that with a Japanese rider and saw the popularity in Japan go up. We won minor continental races, made those gains, made those progressions, and saw better riders. And Asia starts a little bit higher than Africa to begin with. And so we had an easier time finding better riders. Here we're having a harder time with it, and yet we're getting similar kind of results. But we're not getting the benefit, right? We've picked up 2 points, 3 points this whole series, and I wasn't the one who picked those up. It was Gramai made those bonuses. We've done what's necessary. We haven't gotten the results. They nerfed it a bit this year, so it's making this series a lot harder. And I already made this series a lot harder with the database the way it was the day it came out, and not having national championships, so the sponsor confidence is not a given. Right now it's good. We've got 100%. We're going to have an easy time this year. Why? Because we have a World Tour calendar, and we're finding success at the World Tour level. Not tremendous success, but we've had a couple little wins, and at some point, we're going to see a popularity boost for one of these nations at some point this season. And that's the thing. That's the start point. And it takes a World Tour calendar to get there. And now we've got that World Tour calendar. And now we've got the means to keep that World Tour calendar. The only trick is don't get relegated to Continental. So that signing period is going to be huge. But we're on a path right now towards those goals and objectives we've had. We finally opened that pathway. And we are having moderate success at this level. It's just going to take the right rider at the right race with that right victory to start opening the floodgates of a developing database in Africa. But that's a long-term thing too, not a short-term thing. But we now have the path, and we could just stay on this path. World Tour race, score those points, keep us at the top of Continental Pro, and start to develop those nations and find those riders. We've already got one guy internally who is a big-time prospect in Bari, because he got that boost, he got that bonus. He's still only a 5-star potential kind of guy. He's got a long ways to go. But that well-rounded web of his, that climbing, the time trialing, that sprint, that punchiness, even that cobble, he is going to win a lot. As he's not South African or Eritrean, as a Tunisian, who's like a 3-2 nation, I believe, off the top of my head. When he gets there, oh my goodness. He's going to build up Tunisia so much. He's going to get a lot of victories. But right now, he's our weakest rider, 2.5 stars. The only 2.5-star guy we have on team. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a few seasons. And then the impact is going to take a few seasons. He boosts their popularity. It's not like Tunisia is suddenly going to be amazing, right? We have some quality in South Africa and Eritrea. And I can translate that. Samuels is good enough to go do something at the Tour de France. And I think one of the best things we can do for ourselves is not go compete for the GC and get 8th place and win 0 stages. That's not going to do anything. We need a stage victory to boost the popularity. So I need him competing for the King of the Mountains. I need him competing for stages in the breakaway, in the later stages, in that small group with a +5 race day condition one day, and poof, stage victory, popularity boost, and then South Africa can get even better. I gotta be creative in how I do this, because we now have the means to maintain the top position. Gosh, I'm rambling. Okay, we're gonna call that an episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.